Hi, hello.
Hi,
It's
Miriam.
good to see you.
Good to see
I
you.
understand that you're starting a book group, which is going to be studying Eckhart Tolle's book, Practicing the Power of Now. I'm wondering if you can share a little bit about the power of now, about its benefits and its importance.
Yes, Miriam, that's right. We're starting the book club in April and talking about the power of now. Uh, it is really about living from your truthful identity because the divine is here now, not at the level of the mind. So when we live in the now, we are living from, our true self. And our true self, as we know, is, it's a field of infinite possibilities, omnipresent, omniscience, right? So we're really living from true power, true love, true peace. And when we live in time, we are living from the ego mind, which is based on the past and the future, desire and fear, all the polar opposites. So, really understanding, implementing the power of now is actually living from your truth. And the other aspect, I want to share is, we have lived with the promises of time and form for a long time because time is always saying, just this one thing, just that one thing, and then everything is going to be fine. But what happens is the ego mind is not meant, uh, it cannot be happy. So once we reach our destination, something else will come up, right? So time has always like been promising us, and then we feel like, sometimes when I meet my friends, we're like, a lot of times in college we would crib about, trivial things, and then we were like, we had everything there, we had no responsibilities. So, but at that time, the ego mind was saying something else, right? Even though we had everything. So time promises but does not deliver. But the now, even when we do our meditations, immediately we feel that sense of peace. So the program is to help also people to make friends with the now. And what happens is when we live like that in the now, in the peace of the now, we live from completeness as opposed to living from the ego, which is always feelings of incompleteness, happiness just around the corner. So when we start living from completeness, the next, life starts unfolding from peace, completeness, gratitude. So it becomes like, a beautiful flow.
That's exciting. I never really thought about living from completeness. As you said, in our meditation practices, we find silence, solitude, peace, moments of it, and we try to carry it into our life. But viewing those moments as being fully complete in and of themselves, and not having the need to attain anything else is extremely liberating. It's
Yes.
extremely liberating. I love your story about being in college because, we all wanted to get out of college to start our lives. And then we started our lives, and then we wanted to buy a house, and then the next. So, the thought of being able to have that feeling of completeness and wholeness in the moment is something that would be great to attain.
Yes. Right, Miriam. And as you're speaking about it, what comes to me is actually, being in the now is our natural state, and getting lost in time was what we learned. So,
Mm.
but when we come to meditations, we are like, okay, I want to dip into that now, into that place of peace. But actually, that is the default. That is our true nature, we can say. And so we have to just unlearn the habit of living in time. It's not really learning to live in the now. A more accurate way would be to say, we are always in the now, but we are unlearning that habit of believing thoughts, believing time, or investing in time that much.
Makes me think of children. Children are not really concerned with time. They live in the moment.
Yes.
And so we're trying to get back to that pure state of awareness and consciousness.
Yes, exactly. Children are like, they're so happy, they're so carefree, right? And we're going back to that state, but with additional wisdom, because now we have seen the other side of it. So we value it even more. And also, whatever gifts we have, whatever talent we have, we can, it will shine. more. It's not that our life experiences are not, valuable, they are, but this power of now, this peace will imbibe into all aspects of your life, work, family, relationships, and everything.
You talk about living in the power of now as living from our true self. And that's something you've been guiding us on for several years with your heart-focused meditation practice. So it sounds as though this book and the exercises and your teachings is just kind of deepening that process. Am I right?
Yes, the heart-based approach, because if you see children, they're living in the heart, right? They're not living at the level of the ego where, they are concerned about tomorrow or what career they're going to take. So it's really about really living in the heart, which is also living in oneness.
So it's kind of a deepening and a progression of what we've been doing.
Yes, exactly.
Study of the practice of now. I'm curious about some of the exercises in the book. As you know, I've been practicing meditation for a while. It's something I do at certain points in the day, and I try to carry it into my daily life. But there's something about the title of the book, The Practice of the Power of Now, that makes me think that this is something that you just do all the time. It's a state of awareness of a present moment that you gradually are able to attain. Can you talk a little bit about the kind of exercises that we'll participate in the book?
Yes, definitely. So this is the book, Miriam, Practicing the Power of Now. I know the Power of Now is very, very popular, and this is, it is like a aid for that main book. But the beauty of this book is it is packed with practical exercises, explorations. So it's a small book, but it is very, very powerful. So each chapter has, explorations that we can do. So maybe we can do one together now. So this is in chapter 1, Being an Enlightenment. So he says, start listening to the voice in the head as often as you can. Pay particular attention to repetitive patterns, the old audio tapes that have been playing in your head. When you listen to that voice, listen to it impartially. Do not judge, do not condemn. And the most important thing, Miriam, is you'll soon realize that there is the voice in the head, the chatter, and here I am listening to it, watching it. This I am realization, this sense of your own presence is not a thought. It arises from beyond the mind. So whenever the voice in the head arises, our general reaction would be, this shouldn't be there. But more than this shouldn't be there is, I am aware of this. I am the watcher of this. So the moment you are the observer of something, what you observe becomes the observed, right? You are the observer, and what is seen is observed. Immediately you are in your true dimension, in your true self. And that, is very, very powerful.
And that's something you can take into every experience. And that was kind of my question. What is it we're going to learn that we can take into our day-to-day? But that's something that we could do all the time. It's interesting, you said to listen to our thoughts. I often have treated my thoughts as the enemy. It's what's keeping me from peace and creating anxiety and fear and distraction. And so I'll be aware of a thought and I'll say, oh no, stop it. But you said to listen to it, but to listen to it with an awareness that there's a part of me that is listening, that is not the thought.
Exactly. And that awareness is the key, that you are the watcher of it. The content doesn't matter because it's going to arise and it's going to subside. It doesn't really matter, right? And so the program, like if we do chapter 1 of the book, we will do, it'll include the reading, which we will do by ourselves. We will explore the main methods. And then we as a group will decide to follow these practices. And not necessarily all the time, Miriam, because in my experience, when we make it like a rule or a method or something I have to do, it gets very tedious. I think it's in spirituality, it's very important to have an attitude of curiosity, you know, just saying, okay, let me do this for 10 minutes. Any voice, any commentary that comes, the voice in the head that comes, let me just watch it, that I am the watcher. So like that, we want to know who we are beyond our thoughts. We want to know the truth.
Mm.
So if we can approach it with that attitude of who am I? Am I really my thoughts? Am I really my emotions? With curiosity, love, tenderness, I feel, it is more effective. So that way we will decide to follow a set of practices, not necessarily all day, but, depending on our schedules. But always the intention should be like uh, coming from love, not from a force. And then the program will also include an emotional healing session. Every session will have an emotional healing session, because I feel even if even if you're very, very serious about being in the now, when the emotions are strong, it becomes very difficult to stay present. So it's very important to learn a healing method rooted in spirituality, because I feel that is the best method, which which will help us heal the emotion and return to the now more easily. And the method I teach, is the emotional healing with divine love. There's a course on Insight Timer also. So the same method will be done in a group session. Uh, and it's not mandatory to share. Sometimes people share, and that seems to help everyone. And so the purpose of this program is to have, we read many books, we like the teaching, but we're not able to follow through with it, right? So this 5-month program, April to August, I really want to focus on the practice aspect of it, the group energy, the commitment to just follow through with each chapter, and do the 5 months to the best of our abilities, right?
Yeah, I love that. A couple of things you said really resonated with me. One is approaching this with curiosity and love, and not making it something else to put in a to-do list. I have to meditate today, or I have to, take 5 minutes to be in the now. And so I love that gentle approach where we're kind of being gently led and prompted into this experience. And it's not a confrontational one that's focused on willpower and discipline. The other thing, I read a lot of books and about spirituality, and I enjoy them, but it stays in your head. Some of these concepts are very abstract, and unless we do the practice, they go in and they go out. They don't really stick. Part of the challenge is, as you know, the world we live in is constantly programming us to not focus on our true self, but to be more ego oriented. So I think a study where we have a practice where we're working with a group and we have exercises will provide me at least with the motivation and encouragement to keep doing the work and to actually delve deep into the material, to let it get beyond my head and get into my heart.
Yes, that's very important, Miriam. What you're saying is right, because very, very few people who are interested in these teachings, they don't feel it is relevant, and it is fine. But to find our community, the people who also think like us, and then we feel very encouraged. I'm not alone. And now in this age of technology, it's so much easier to connect compared to years back, when you feel so isolated, nobody understands what you're doing. And even people say, what are you doing all the time, why are you reading so much? So and that's where the heart space online community would also be helpful for the program participants, and of course for everyone also. This community platform is for people to come together and share, and I hope to do a lot more programs this year. So what we can also do is participants in this program can also decide to come together and meditate. I can give one person the admin access. I will join, as much as possible. And I do have the time. I'll be happy to kind of, it doesn't have to be long. We can just sit together for 10 minutes 12 minutes or something, and just kind of reconnect like that, do one practice, and then go back into our day. So we can do a lot of things with the online portal also, which will support the participants.
Community support is really important. I participated in a book group you did on the book Letting Go by David Hawkins. And it was a great book. You had wonderful teachings, but the community support added to the readings and your wisdom and instruction. And not only did I feel the support of the other individuals in the group, there was a lot of learning from one another.
Yes.
A lot of wisdom shared. We often don't realize we know what we know until we get into these kinds of conversations. And we also that are not aware that other people feel the way we do and have the same experiences that we do. So, being together with a group studying this kind of material is invaluable.
Exactly, Miriam. And I remember in one of our sessions, one of the participants was feeling, was having a challenge, and she was feeling very down. And, but everyone in the group understood that it is a natural part of the journey, to also have those days when you're feeling down, and everybody was so supportive. And it is just wonderful to have that kind of support. So it makes us, not feel like I'm alone.
And I think we all benefited from situations where someone in the group had an issue and you did emotional healing with them. We all benefited from it.
Yes, because when we work one-on-one, Miriam, what happens is there are some aspects, even though the course is very detailed, 30 lessons, but still the one-on-one work, sometimes, it can bring out aspects which is very dynamic, right? And so what happens is then that also gives the other participants that insight that, oh, this is also another approach to the healing, or this could be like sometimes there's resistance. You don't want to work with the sadness, right? And so I asked the person, are you willing to be tender with the sadness? And there's a no. And if you don't recognize that, you continue with the healing and you're not getting the results. So since I work with the first ask that question, then it makes the other people understand, oh, there could be resistance to healing, and it's fine. Resistance is fine. No, we shouldn't make that into another problem.
Right. I've often heard you say, what you resist, persist.
Yes. Yeah, because sometimes we are kicking and screaming, I don't like this, and it just doesn't get better. And sometimes all that is needed is, right now I'm not feeling good, and it's okay.
Yep.
It's okay. And that softening seems to lead to the healing. Sorry, Miriam.
Yeah. Oh, no. Can I ask you why you selected this book?
Because I felt, I wanted it to be a very practice-oriented group this time. Letting go was also very, very practical. But when I, for some reason, I remembered, listening to these audios many years back. So, we were thinking of what do we do in the next book club, next bi-monthly program. And somehow the power of now came to me, but I was feeling like the book is a little lengthy. And, of course, people can read it along with this, but I was thinking if there was something more like, we're going to do these 1, 2, 3 practices for the next 2 weeks. People can, check with each other how they're doing, report, success. So I felt like more drawn to doing a practice-based group this time.
And it's not necessary that we have the bigger book.
It's not necessary, because I will also be guiding, as you've seen, Miriam, a lot of the book clubs, I will also, share my aspect along with, related teachings. It's not, of course, the book is the main thing, but there are also additional aspects which I will share. So nobody will feel like they're missing out. If they have the time, they can read. But if they don't, this book is enough.
Well, I was happy you selected it. I have the book, the larger book. I believe I bought it when it first came out, which was quite a while ago. And I kind of regard it as a spiritual classic. You could read it over and over again, or you could just open a page and, pick up a certain chapter. And there's so much there. There's so much there to know on. But as I said in the past, it's kind of stayed in my head. I like to think that some of it filters through into my thoughts, behaviors, and actions, but I haven't really done a practice like you're going to lead us through. So I'm thrilled with the selection of the book.
Thank you. Thank you. So it's going to be 5 months, and we're going to be focusing on this. Sometimes what we do a little bit of this, a little bit of that. And you're right, every time we read a book, something happens. At a deep level, it does happen. But if we can stay consistent for the 5 months and really dedicate ourselves, to the reading and the practices and the group, I feel, the benefits are really going to be like very embodied.
Now, if you miss a session, I think in the past you were able to give us recordings.
Yes, that would continue, Miriam. The recordings
Right.
will be there. Yes. Can we do a short practice now?
Yes, I would love to.
Okay. So you can just close your eyes, being aware of the presence. And asking yourself the question, how is the now experience in silence? Now you can open your eyes, Miriam, and just looking around. Now with the open eyes, you can check the same thing. How is this now experienced in complete silence? What is your experience, Miriam?
It's a very rich sensory experience of the sound and visually. It's quiet, it's still, but it's also rich. Sometimes when you say quiet and still, there's this sense of emptiness, but it's the opposite of that. It's just a very rich feeling of being.
Yes.
I guess the feeling of being is the best way I can describe it.
That's beautiful, Miriam. And this can be this preaching is so practical. I remember one day, for some reason not getting a taxi and stuff like that. And I just had it was very hot, and I just sat down and I just asked the question, how is this now experienced without any thoughts? And the same thing, silence without any thoughts. And then it was a hot afternoon, but then I just looked up and I could see the trees moving, and the whole place looked completely different. It was a very regular ordinary street, hot afternoon, but just asking this question opened up that dimension, because the true self doesn't have those kind of preferences and opinions. And
Right.
so I will be sharing more like this. It doesn't have to be that, of course, a regular meditation practice morning and how many times is good, but these kind of heart opening state questions, inquiries, are also, I feel, very, very helpful.
That's what I'm looking forward to incorporating into my daily life. Last night I sat outside, and it was a beautiful crystal clear night, and I saw the moon and the stars, and it was so easy to just stop thoughts and be in the now. But when I'm at the supermarket and the line's long and I'm rushing to get home, it's not as easy. But an exercise like the one you just gave, that's the time to
Exactly.
into my true self and not let my ego start chattering about everything that's wrong.
Yes. And just one statement like that can change, what you're looking at.
Right, exactly. And if the ego starts chattering, which the ego will, just be aware of what it's
Be aware.
doing.
Yes. Just know that you are that presence which is aware of that voice. I think, I think it was Rupert Farah. He said, suppose you have a neighbor who's always barging in, giving you gossip and, talking all the time. And then you realize it's not really helping me. And, slowly you kind of reduce the time and you stop inviting him or her for tea and, you slowly stop the disassociation. And so that voice in the head is like that. We've got used to it and we cannot fight it. But what we can do is becoming aware of it, not being interested in it, and slowly moving our awareness to space. Yes, Miriam. So we do not fight the voice in the head, but we move our attention, and one simple practice to do that is just watching space.
Mhm. That's a great analogy, the neighbor. And I sometimes think of it as a roommate, an irritating roommate who lives with me, and trying to just create some space.
Yes, yes.
Is there anything else?
And also, Miriam, just one thing I want to say is, everything in this field, we approach with love and tenderness. So sometimes I used to, also feel like, what is this voice? I don't like it, and things like that. But then I started realizing that this voice was my only guide in a certain phase of my life. So it's not getting the message, in a way, I'm saying, of course, that it's not needed. So slowly what we do is, we don't look at it as something bad, but we're no longer interested in it.
It also reminds me, in some of the emotional healing sessions I've witnessed, participated in, you talk about us loving the unloved parts of ourselves, embracing it and not pushing it away.
Yes, yes, exactly. Because, like you said, what we resist persists, and what we see, what we're compassionate towards, what we surrender to the divine, that returns back to love. So it's all about love, compassion, acceptance of where we are, and not following even the spiritual thoughts, which a thought which said, you should not be feeling like this, you should accept it. Even those are thoughts camouflaged in a different kind of a way.
Yeah, so true, so true. Is there anything else you'd like to share about the program?
uh, what I would like to say is, this program will be very practical, very beneficial. So I would ask people, if you are, looking for a way to get a supportive community and, to practice the methods, dictated in the book, this would be a great platform. It will be on alternate Sundays, 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. Pacific time. We start in April, and if they're interested, you please register. And one more thing I want to say, not particularly about the program, is that I heard this recently, that suppose you lose your wallet in the house, you're not going to look for it outside, right? So the happiness that we were born with, uh, you know we seem to we look for it outside. It's like looking for the wallet outside when you have lost, when it was inside, right? Similarly, we have to really realize and become mature enough now that the happiness that I seek in objects, situations, time, people, status, or whatever it is, because you've seen that you can see that it doesn't really fulfill. And if you want to find happiness, start from within. Not that we have to reject the world or go away from the world. Start from within, find that completion, that fulfillment within, and let the world be a celebration of that love and joy, so that, you know, we're not dependent on it, but yet we are celebrating, and we become more like, how can I serve, what can I give? And
Mhm.
there's a lightness, you know, because we are already complete. So just like
Yeah.
little children, they're already complete, you know, they're not seeking fulfillment, they're not seeking to be special, they just are. So we can just be.
How beautiful to be able to live out of that space of feeling complete
Yes,
and make the material world just a celebration of the love and completion we already have.
yes, yes, Miriam. Yes, and it's totally possible because we are the truth. You know, we don't have to become the truth. We are the truth. It's just forgotten, and all we're doing is, you know, just remembering and just, you know, discovering the home actually that we never left.
No, exactly. And part of the reason something like this is so important is that we don't get this message anyplace else, really, in our society, in our culture. We're bombarded with the opposite message, and
Exactly.
I think that's why so many of us gravitate to your teachings and to books like Eckhart Tolle and David Hawkins and other teachers, um, because we're bombarded with an opposite message, and it just makes me so happy to hear you
Mm.
say we don't have to live like that, that there's a
Yes, yes,
completeness, peace, and love within all of us. And we just need to look within, as you said, not look without.
yes. So that's what I wanted to share, Miriam. It's been wonderful talking to you.
Wonderful talking to you as well. And I look forward to the program starting next month.
Yes, same here.
How are we going to sign up? How are you going to get the information out to people to sign up for it?
I'm going to be sending out a newsletter, and the newsletter will have, you know, the Google Forms. And I know a few people have registered, but you know, it'll be good if those who are interested register as soon as possible. And my website is heartawakening.net. Uh, the registration form is also on the website.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Miriam.